So hello everyone in the 5 continents. Welcome to another edition of our International English Online Meetings. This morning we have two wonderful professionals from Puerto Rico. Hello dear Evelyn and hello dear Princess.
Hello, and it's a pleasure to be here as well, to meet other colleagues and to share a little bit of what we have, done for some years. And obviously looking forward to an interactive activity where we can share some ideas.
Thank
Thank
you,
you very
Evelyn.
much for the invitation.
Thank you, dear Evelyn and Princess.
Hi, good morning to all, wherever we are in different time zones. Some of us, it is a pleasure to be here and to share today a little conversation of something that is very dear to my heart, and I am extremely excited to be here.
And we are also very excited. All right, let me share my screen. Please give me a couple of seconds. It is here. Where are you? Let me check this. He must be here. Okay, here it is. So, okay, so this is our 136th International English Online Meeting. Today, September the 21st of September. If you want to watch our past webinars, you can watch them in our YouTube channel. You can find all of them there. So who are our guest speakers coming in the next sessions? Well, the September 28th, we will have this roundtable in Spanish talking about autism to celebrate the second anniversary of Centro Integral El Alba. It's the school where my grandson goes and is studying and trying to learn to become independent. Then on October the 5th, we will have our good friend Marcela Burgos from Argentina talking about culture in the language classroom, the whys and hows. Then on October 19th, we'll have Isadora Pereira from Brazil. She will be talking about Do You Walk Your Walk? Professional development, your journey, your responsibility. I love that. Then on November the 23rd, we'll have our good friends from PRTESOL, Paraguay, TESOL, Rocío Mazzoleni, Maura Salimben, Remigio Diaz, and Carolina Ortiz. Then on December the 7th, we'll have our good friends from Asocopi, Colombia, Kathy Ramirez, Adriana Sanchez, and Claudia Maria Uribe. And of course, we will have our end of the year roundtable as usual. So who are our speakers today? Well, a little bit about Evelyn. Well, here she will be talking about the healing power of teachers. My goodness. After 44 years as an educator from elementary to postgraduate teaching, Lugo has many accomplishments that make her proud of her students. She retired from the university level as a full professor. Now she is an ESL Curriculum Specialist, and she is even more devoted to DKG Puerto Rico and her Delta chapter. What else? On the international level, she is a member of the 2019 DKG Next Group and a DKG International Speaker. She was Puerto Rico TESOL President in 2012 and currently serves in variety committees, including the Research Journal Committee as co-editor. Who is this good-looking man, dear Evelyn?
That is my husband of 49 years,
He's the
and
lucky
we are
guy.
happily married since 1976.
I said he's the lucky guy.
We're both lucky. He's a good
Great,
person.
great. And
Thank
then,
you for that picture.
no, thank you. Well, then we'll have Princess Kimberly Garcia. What a beautiful name, Princess. She will be talking about calm minds, open doors, managing anxiety in ELL instruction. Something about Princess. She's an esteemed educator with over 20 years of experience. She holds a bachelor's degree in secondary education and a master's degree in English as a second language. Currently pursuing a doctorate in leadership with a specialization in curriculum and instruction. She is dedicated to enhancing her skills in education leadership. She serves as a high school English teacher at Tasis Dorado in Puerto Rico, a prominent member of PRTESOL. She has held key positions including Eastern Chapter Membership Secretary, Vice President and President, Private School Representative, and now the 2025 Vice President of Puerto Rico TESOL. So thank you so much, dear Princess. Thank you so much, dear Evelyn, for the time and the expertise you are going to share with us. And the screen is all yours. So who is going to start?
Evelyn.
Evelyn.
Let me share my presentation and talk a little bit about the healing power of teachers.
By the way,
So
just let me remind you, you got 45 minutes to present.
yes, I'll
If you
try
need
and do
more,
my best.
if you need more extra minutes, you will have to make a deposit.
Okay, I'll try to take to the time.
No, don't worry. It's okay.
Okay, well, basically, I wrote an article some time ago in the research journal of Delta Kappa Gamma Society International for Women Educators. It's an international organization, and it has a peer-reviewed publication, which I was honored to be published as well as other of our colleagues in Puerto Rico, such as Cynthia, has been also published by them. So my title today is The Healing Power of Teachers, and that is something that have caught my attention for many years. At the present time for Puerto Rico TESOL, I am the advocacy committee chair, besides other committees that I have along the way in PRTESOL. So I am honored and I am so happy to have been invited. But let me start by saying that I have been always inspired by excuse me for the tongue twister, by Jaime. He's a psychologist. At some point in time in 1972, he actually wrote a book that's titled Teacher and Child and gave a lot of very important pointers to teachers, being a young teacher himself. So my question arose around what I read from him in many of his books. This is not the only one I've read, but I always think of why is it important for teachers to avoid labeling students. So in our 45 minutes presentation that we have, I want to accomplish some interaction from the viewers. So if you can interrupt me in any moment and ask me questions or have a conversation about what it is, why is it important for teachers to avoid labeling? So when we talk about labeling, does everyone have a clear knowledge or a clear definition of labeling students? Does anyone want to let me know what you know about it?
Well,
Jaime?
maybe I guess that it is um, giving students a certain name, like giving them that they are the slow ones, the fast ones, the smart students, the slow, something like that, maybe.
Yes, you're on the right track. Any other comment related to why teachers should avoid, which is my concern? Because labelings can go either way. It can go positive labeling, but it can also be negative labeling.
Yeah, Cynthia
So
wants to say something.
okay, so Cynthia, you wanna add to that premise?
Yes, it's just so difficult. And I agree it's important to not label, but you know what happens is that a student will come late a lot, and then you'll say, ah, there you are. And even without exactly saying you're the late one, the other students pick up on that and they're like, oh, this is the late one, or this is the one that asks a lot of funny questions or whatever it might be. And then they get a label really from your reaction, not even from saying the label.
Absolutely. So again, as a trainer and as a teacher myself, I often question how maybe inadvertently, maybe unintentionally, as Cynthia just mentioned, the teacher is hurting her student or his student. And on occasion, I have witnessed, I have facts where I have listened to teachers compare siblings that they have taught in different years.
Oh,
And they say, oh, you're not as intelligent as your brother who I taught last year. And so they tell these students something that actually maybe the student doesn't match the teacher's expectation. But then that is something that I consider to be an insensibility of the teacher. You have to be aware that whatever you say also makes an impact on the student. So I want to start today's presentation with a quote from Jaime Ginot. And he said, as a teacher, in his book, Teacher and Child, he wrote the philosophy of his educational and teaching philosophy when he said, I have come to the frightening conclusion that I am a decisive element in the classroom. It is my personal approach that creates the climate. It is my daily mood that makes the weather. What weather? Is it a positive or is it a negative? So with that in mind, I would like you to look, and let me see if I can change this somewhere. Okay. Can you see the whole screen?
Yeah.
Okay, so I would like this question that has popped on my mind. What is the relationship between these three images? First, I would like you to concentrate on the image in the center of the slide. Look at the image and tell me what you see. Do I have any response? What do you see? Yvette, what do you see?
Well, I see students with a happy face. They're
Yes.
enjoying what they do.
Okay. Any other observation?
The teacher is touching the student on the shoulder and feels like an encouraging kind of movement.
Okay, very good. Any other comment? In these three images, which one, it's an easy catch, which one would you say provoked this kind of interaction among the students? Picture on your left or picture on your right?
Left?
That's an easy catch. I told you it's an easy catch. What made the difference? What made the mood? What made the environment?
Yeah.
Okay, can someone
attitude.
give me two descriptions of each of the teachers?
Okay.
Well,
go ahead.
I'm sorry. The one that has the book open has the skill of using reference and keeping up to date information in a happy way.
And what about the other one? Okay, so we got keeping up with information, and what else did you say, Yvette?
Enjoying what she's doing.
Enjoying. How do you know that she's enjoying it?
Because she has a relaxed gesture and a big smile on her face.
And a big smile. Okay, tell me two characteristics of the teacher on your right.
My first impression is that she thinks she knows it all, and she doesn't use reference for her class, and that she doesn't enjoy what she's doing. She's there maybe for many years doing the same thing.
Okay, two
That's my
observations. Any other comment?
The teacher on the right looks like her arms are folded and she's carrying a stick of some kind, a pointer of some kind. The facial expression shows, okay, now this is not something I enjoy doing, but I'm going to do it anyway. So not a very welcoming appearance.
Okay. All right. So again, the teacher makes the atmosphere. Cynthia, you wanted to add something to that?
Yes. The fact that she has her arms folded, I think was mentioned before. Her there's a frown right here, and that you see the little wand or whatever that she's using.
Pointer.
A pointer. Remember how we used to use those? They don't work very well. they make it
not anymore.
Like yeah, it's like a prop. Like I'm the teacher, you're not.
Right.
Pointing with the
it also indicates I have the power, I have the control, and you follow.
Right.
The big stick.
Absolutely. Well, thank you very much. Definitely, you hit on the right spot. But I would love to go back to that image in the center of the slide where you can see that all of the students who are sitting, even though they're not actively participating, would you say that they are invested in what's going on? That they understand that they are there for some reason?
Yes. Yes.
And
it's surprising because the teacher has her back to the class, but the students are still paying attention.
Right. No one is throwing the ball of paper and no one is hitting someone. They are invested in what's going on, even though the teacher is giving their back. So it is established an environment of learning that is making those students happy learners. They are able to continue whatever is going on in their class. And this is an English class, a foreign English class, most probably. And I can identify that because of the way the students might be dressing, even though now that is something that we can't actually pinpoint and label. So that means that we need to overcome the environment by just creating a safe environment for our learners. So definitely, yes, all the images in my presentation are AI generated. I love the idea of just asking either Copilot or ChatGPT to generate what I really am looking for. So that's an advantage for this 70-year-old teacher to get into the new era of AI. Okay, so if we have teacher with a fronted forehead and a pointer and cross because you didn't give the right answer, what do we get from the students? Let's move to the next slide. And my question here would be, wait a second, I missed one. Okay. How can teachers hurt or heal a student's opportunity to be a successful learner? As we've mentioned, everyone learns at a different level, at a different rate. But can a teacher hurt that successful learner's opportunity? Can a teacher do that? My question would be yes or no. Who can answer? Can a teacher hurt the opportunity of a successful, happy learner?
Yes.
To be successful?
Yes.
Absolutely. And most probably the teacher is not intentionally doing so. Most probably the teacher doesn't have that meaningful purpose to hurt. But can he or she hurt? Yes.
Absolutely.
They can hurt. Look at the images and tell me what is the result of a teacher who's not aware that they're hurting their students. Pick any of the images.
Even unintentional behavior isn't happening the students, because we don't intend to hurt the students.
I can't hear her well, Jaime.
Yeah, Raj, I don't know what happens with your laptop,
Okay.
it is, or your telephone.
Yvonne's gonna fix my sound. Yvonne's gonna fix the sound.
Okay, yeah.
Oh, okay. But obviously, just look at the images of the student. Concentrate on the student and tell me,
Yeah.
how is the student feeling if the teacher is getting the message that they're hurting the
Yeah, the
student?
students are upset and crying.
They're
And the teacher doesn't notice it because they have a smile on their face, and probably there's no intention at all of harming that student.
Absolutely. The teacher is unaware of the effect and impact that they are having on the student. Now look at the students who are behind the situation.
Yeah, they're laughing. Raj, I guess you can talk now? Raj?
Are you able to hear me now?
Yeah,
Yeah.
Oh,
much
yes,
better.
yes.
Much
Yes.
better.
It's okay. Thank you.
Oh, now she went on mute.
The students that are smiling
No,
behind,
I think Yvonne was helping me see why my sound wasn't working, but it's
Okay.
my
But now
earbuds.
your sound is good.
The sound is
Thank you
perfect,
for
right?
thank you for caring for your student.
I think, Evelyn, about the photo,
Uh-huh.
the children are responding positively behind, but the student, it is not. It's like they feel like they're being laughed at, and I see that dynamic happen a lot. I try to be very careful not to single out a
And
student.
we have to be careful, as you just mentioned, because sometimes maybe the student is not ready for the content, and that makes the difficulty in that student. And the others who might be ready will understand, but why can't he get it? It's so easy. And they might enjoy with maybe innocently what's going on in the classroom with that student and the teacher. So they don't see it. But there's the image in the middle of the slide that catches my attention with the teacher who is sort of like annoyed, mad, because the student is not understanding. Now, question, is that the student's responsibility or the teacher's responsibility?
Yes, Evelyn, the teacher has her own little finger pointer there, and she's singling out a student and making her feel miserable. And when maybe there should be some private talking happening in a
Absolutely.
kinder way.
Absolutely. And remember what we said, that labeling can go either way. It could be positive, it could be negative. Maybe the student actually needs some kind of intervention and support that is not in the hands of the teacher. But obviously the teacher has to know that, internalize that as a professional in the field of teaching, that sometimes it comes out of our hands and we need to identify other professionals that might be able to help and level the students to where they're supposed to be, or at least trying to level them to the point where they are happy learners, even though they might not be at the levels of the others, they are still accomplishing and achieving their goals in the learning process. Okay, so I don't want to lose my time because I got to pay afterwards to Jaime. So I'm gonna follow my next emotional reaction, and I know Kimberly is going to talk a little bit more about that. But when a teacher can hurt or heal, he will definitely get some emotional reactions from the student. The student will definitely be influenced, impacted, and affected by whatever happens in that classroom when a student is not being attended, taken care of with love and tender understanding. So that means that a student's emotional reaction can actually hinder, hurt the learning process. And not necessarily because they can't learn, it's because they're impacted by the situation created in which they feel shame and embarrassment, this happens a lot with English language learners. I have been a professor and a teacher where students come up to me at the university level and say, no me ponga a hablar. Don't put me to say anything oral because I don't know how to speak in English. And they feel embarrassed and ashamed.
Mhm.
And they have anxiety, and I know Kimberly will talk about that, and they fear how the other students or the teacher will react. They also feel that they can be restless in the classroom because they have resentment and anger because they're not able to please the teacher.
Mhm.
And of course, that leads to slow and low self-esteem, and slow because they might come out of it, but it will take them longer to receive how they can be better understood by their peers and by their teacher. It also drives them to isolation. I want you to think about your classrooms at your time where you had a student at the back of the room, not giving you eye contact, daydreaming in isolation, or even putting themselves to sleep actually during your class. So that is another way of labeling student, and you don't even take care of that student because, oh, he's not into it. So that student becomes isolated and withdrawn from the group and actually believes that they are not able to learn, even though it could be something temporary. So it's isolation, it's anger, and it's definitely embarrassment. And we see that especially with our English language learners, those ELL students that are sometimes immersed in a class that is above their level. And I have stories to tell, but I'm not going to go there now. But definitely it is something that we have to look for and be aware of. Who is aware? Who should be aware? Who should be in constant monitoring of themselves?
It's the teacher. Yeah.
It's the teacher.
And also, I think it's important for the teacher to teach the students about their own self-esteem and how to monitor it.
Right.
Because they need to have some kind of shield, you know, from negative messages that might come. But yes, probably Kimberly will talk about it.
So I remember as a professor many years with my student teachers, I would always tell them it is your responsibility to form your student. It is your communication skill that will enhance your work. You're not just content deliverers.
Right.
You're not there just to follow a curriculum. Your work is a lot more important than the curriculum that you have because it's on paper and you have live people, human beings in front of you that depend on your communication skills to learn the content that's in the book, to learn the skills that are in the curriculum. But if it's not in your mind to use and activate that learning, you have to look at yourself and self-evaluate. So sometimes we're hurting because we just want to follow the curriculum and the pages on the book.
Yes.
And we don't want to take the moment to look at how is that applied in real people at real time. So it's authentic language use that sometimes is sort of like avoided. Copy from the board and fill the blanks in the worksheet, and I can correct if you did the work. But there is no communication strategies involving how to apply whatever it is. So the teacher needs to know that you need to use very clear instruction, Use your body. Puerto Rican teachers, and I have to say, I don't know how they teach in other countries, but in Puerto Rico, and I know Cynthia is already a Puerto Rican teaching with our methods. We use our body. We use our facial expression. We are always moving our hands. We move around the classroom. We stand close to the student. Why? Because we want feedback. We want to be sure that they're listening of what we're asking, that they're able to question us. Some teachers don't like the question. Some teachers don't like to be questioned. It's what I say, and that's it.
Yeah, that's true. Frances wants to say something, dear Evelyn. Go
Yes,
on,
Francis, can
Frances.
you go ahead?
Yes, yes. I want to congratulate Evelyn on an excellent topic. As a school psychologist, I can see the impact of what a teacher communicates to a child, and labeling is really a very dangerous area. Another label that I'm concerned about is problematic, or even using something that comes from the criteria from psychiatry, which is awful. And sometimes, like learning disabled or whatever, things like that. Very important topic. I really appreciate inserting that. And also you have brought a cultural issue, how in Puerto Rico we might be reluctant to try out the English language, and that it's important to be able to support our children, that if they're learning a second language, it is okay to make some mistakes. That doesn't make you worse. And something I have experienced in my my role as a supervisor of psychology practitioners in schools, that we are getting students who are more proficient in English than in Spanish, and we need to assist teachers in handling that situation. If the teacher is not proficient in English, she will have difficulty in helping a child who has been living outside Puerto Rico, and when he comes to school, knows more English than Spanish, and that is a problem that we need to handle. So I need to leave momentarily, but I am enjoying the presentation very much, and I hope to be back.
Yeah, and the session is being recorded, dear Frances, so you can watch it later. Don't worry.
Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you, Frances. And I want to address two issues that Frances brought up. And definitely we have, our English educators on the island are very well prepared, and they are constantly, and they have Kimberly now in the public school giving them all sorts of workshops and courses on methodologies and strategies and all of that. But again, we have a number of students who in my era as a student, as a doctoral student, they were called the return migrants. And that means that they had come to the island after being raised at some point in the United States. And when they come back, which happened on the reverse side in the 70s with the Puerto Ricans going to the States. So what happens is that the mastery of the native language is not as strong as it should be for the students in the classroom. The teacher has to make an effort, an extra effort, to not label those students. And I remember as a student, and Yvette might remember as well, we were labeled the New Yorkers. That's a label. Las New Yorkers esta.
Never heard of that. Never heard of that.
Yes, they would label us in the school as those who did not understand well the Spanish language and were not able to communicate effectively and understand what's going on in the classroom. So that was, again, another moment in time, another generation. But today we have the inverse, that we have the students who are coming in, and obviously the teacher knows less English than the students they have in the classroom. Why? Because it's a reality. They come with that natural simultaneous learning of to the language that goes on in the family, in the streets, with the friends, with the community. And the teachers in the classroom are very structured. It happened to me as a teacher. We learned the book English, the methodology in the book. We don't have that slight notion of communication as people that come from using English as a first language. And when you go to another country, the teacher has to know that you have to keep learning about how to communicate with your students. Sometimes teachers just take for granted, and that is where we get problems with communication.
Dear Evelyn, Cynthia has something to say?
Cynthia?
Yes, just a little comment about the returning migrant population in the 70s and before. I remember my husband Wendell sharing with me about being in that group and how they were like a small community in the schools, in the public schools. And the teachers were uncomfortable with their use of English, and they called them the nada-linguals. They didn't know English, they didn't know Spanish, so they were nada-lingual.
They were nada-lingual.
Yeah.
Yes. I remember those times. And obviously, I don't know how is the situation in other countries. Jaime, can you put us a little up to date and what goes on in the classrooms in other places, such as where you are in Peru?
Well, briefly, unfortunately, depending on the type of institution you work, if it is private or public, if you work on the coast, in the highland, or in the jungle, or unfortunately, the color of your skin or the language that your first language, like some people from the highland, if they speak Quechua instead of Spanish. There are, I guess it happens the same in Ecuador, Bolivia, which are very similar, and probably Mexico, but I don't know if it is the same in Central America. But basically, we have this problem of labeling not only teachers, not only students, but unfortunately also teachers. And that is,
Teachers.
as a general point, I would say that the problem is not labeling students, but also in general, not labeling any human being.
Any human,
Right.
exactly. Yeah, absolutely. I remember when I was studying my doctorate degree and my dear professor, Alma Simonet, exposed us to the different social linguistic aspects and psycholinguistic aspects of teaching world Englishes, where the dialects and the form of English is different from one place to another. But basically, teachers have to be more flexible in terms of understanding the differences in the commonality. So what's common is to be able to communicate with that student or the teacher with teacher, being aware of the differences that they might have and not necessarily pointing out that the differences are unsavable, that you can't do anything about it. Yes, you can. You can, if you don't understand, you can use those communication strategies. And obviously, nonverbal communication communicates very much as the verbal communication, as the language that we're using. So there are ways that we can reach the student in many ways. And it is, for me, in terms of the school setting, the teacher's responsibility. And I always said that to my student teachers. It is your responsibility. You create the atmosphere. And that is your responsibility to be able to reach not all the students, because you can't reach them all, but at least you try.
You're right.
Okay,
Just
so
a kind reminder,
how am
dear
I doing
Evelyn.
in time, Jaime?
You got 12 more minutes, but we can trade and do something if you need more extra minutes. Don't worry.
Okay, so I'm going to try and rush a little bit, but I love the interaction. Thank you very much for
So do I,
responding,
and so everyone here.
responding to the questions.
That's
I
important.
know
That's important.
Yvette has been my resource person to identify how am I going to talk to this group, and she has been my support all the way. Okay, so I have a next question for all of you, and it is, are you, let me see, did I pass it too quickly? Okay. Okay, are you how many of you, I have something in the middle and I can't see the question on the screen, but
Well, the
anyway,
question is
are
how
you
many
a
of,
healing teacher? Okay, this is for you. Are you a healing teacher?
I guess our students have to answer this question.
I know, but maybe in a
But,
self-reflection,
but
in a
listening, but
self-evaluation, do you consider yourself a healing teacher?
yeah, but listening to you, I guess we all try because we are aware that we are working not with machines, papers, or objects, but we are people. We are dealing with human beings that feel, cry, feel vulnerable, that have problems, just like us. When I feel sad or I have a problem, I let my students know about it so they know that they won't have the happy Jaime that day or the cheerful Jaime or the because I'm also a human being and I
Oh,
suffer and I
very
also
good.
have problems. So sometimes I would say that that students are also healers. They also help us to go through difficult moments in our lives. I don't know if Mary Scholl, the vice president of our institution, of our community, has something to say about this.
Hello, everyone. Thank you so much. It's
Hi.
really nice to be with you all. And I
Oh, a
love this
pleasure.
question. It's such a beautiful question. And I love your criteria in terms of knowing our students and then really monitoring using intentional language and then being learners ourselves and learning about it.
Absolutely.
I think
And
beautiful.
I think that the more we can see, these are three, there are many other ways, but to become a healing teacher, that small talk with the student. And I remember my student last night, and I have this this little story from last night that we were watching the concert for our most prominent musician or whatever he is, performer, Bad Bunny, and it was almost midnight. It was after midnight when it ended, and he calls me and he says, "Are you alive?" And I wrote back to him, "I am, and I'm getting ready for a presentation tomorrow. So bye." So, but again, it took me like maybe 30 seconds or 40 seconds to say something to him because he was aware that he knows me and he knows that I was invested in watching the concert, but also that I was also getting ready for this. But that small conversation makes a huge difference.
It
And
does.
it builds that trust and that, that level of confidence that sometimes you don't know. I've seen a lot of videos online where the teacher is standing at the doorway and they just give a high five to the student. Not a word, but only that gesture makes a whole difference for the student. Change your
Evelyn,
verbal feedback. Oh, yes,
so
Margaret.
something I hear in what you're saying is, which I think can be controversial for some teachers, but by you taking time out of, so some teachers see it, the only time they're going to be dedicated to the students is in that particular face-to-face hour. And then in our planning and reflection time, we don't usually think about that as time to interact with students. But what you're saying is that little brief 30-second interaction outside of the classroom creates a very different experience in their lives and their learning.
Absolutely.
And so one of the things that I think is we could sort of, as administrators and planners and visionaries, is to think about teaching not just as the time in the classroom, but I mean, obviously as the planning reflecting, but also how much time can we give to interacting with students in these like in the social media way, and and to what degree. I think each teacher has to set their limits, but it can make a big difference for sure.
I think it's already, some of the different series that I've evaluated along the years, I think that many publishers have incorporated into their authors the moment in which that small talk is necessary. And they actually have either an illustration or a quote or something to stimulate that short conversation needed. I would also say that we have to change the person, the teacher, the professional, us. We have to change our verbal feedback because sometimes we have a script. Sometimes we already have a way to address certain situations in the classroom. And we have to maybe highlight the way we tell things to the student, even without the intention or maybe with the intention. Just think about someone who didn't do their assignment from yesterday and comes to the classroom, shows the notebook, and you say, wow, you're lazy. Why didn't you finish your homework? Instead of saying, oh, I see that you didn't complete your homework. Is there something that I can help you with? Did you understand the instruction? Was something going on? Do you feel okay? So, we have to switch from a deficit-based to a more positive self-concept, because you don't know what happened to that child or that student because they couldn't finish. Something might have happened at home. Maybe he fell asleep, sick. Maybe something had interfered with the completion. And you just want it to be completed, or do you want the student to apply what they have learned? So maybe not completing also tells you, oh, I didn't need to complete it because I already know what it is. Okay, that's another story on responsibility and completeness. Yes. But the teacher cannot assume that the person is lazy because they didn't finish.
Right. Cynthia has something to say briefly because we are running.
Okay,
Yeah,
just
okay.
quickly.
So let me run a little faster. Reflect
Right.
on your
But
behavior as a
Cynthia wants to
teacher.
say something. Cynthia?
Yes.
Just quickly, Evelyn, your slide shows some really good questions about would we say that if it's a different student, like let's say you have in your mind that this student that, for example, the one that didn't complete the homework, normally is someone who does everything. So that one we would have this kind of lots of compassion, what happened, and another student that maybe is trying, but they are ineffective in terms of finishing their work, or they don't understand how to be quote unquote a good student, so they don't explain situations, that we tend to get like an internal stereotype on that student, and we might respond in a way that inhibits their future success in the classroom.
Absolutely. That's why I didn't use the word stereotype in any of the presentation, because sometimes we already have a coworker that tells you, oh, you're going to teach that student this year? Well, he's lazy, or he's dumb, or he can't do the job, So you already have some kind of preconception of a student from someone else's vision and not your own experience. Okay, so I just want to point out in this slide two things that we already have mentioned, with three things. Be unconscious, be aware of unconscious labeling that we all can have because we're mortals and we're humans and we're sinners. Use, on the other hand, building culture where the student is seen, valued, and capable. Use your body, your personal body language, your facial expression, your eye contact, etc. Elicit the positive reaction when a student raises the hand. And I want to stop 1 second here. Sometimes we have a student that immediately, even before you finish the question or the comment, the hands are raised. And that is a constant, eager to answer student. But sometimes you might have the option of looking to the classroom and have some other people, and you always pick on the same one because it's the faster, because you want the answer quickly, because you want to move on. But you're overlooking other students that might be able to give an answer, and you don't value what they're doing.
Right.
So look at the students, look at their eyes, accept their curiosity to make connections, even if that's not the person that always raises the hand. Got it? For me,
Got it.
that is important. Okay, so let me move on really quick. And how do we get our students to active learning? And that means that you have to embrace the student's learning process. In my promotion, I mentioned that we were going to talk a little bit about the learning styles. Well, obviously, we need to refocus, refresh, and go back to what are learning-centered approaches and how multiple types of activities can get your students to use their knowledge in many different ways. So we want our students to be active participants, not just to fill in the blanks, copy from the board, and answer very limited information without responding or applying. So we want the scaffolding to occur. We want the students to build their knowledge and come back and use it when it's necessary. So walking through this, I go back to Howard Gardner's, and I know that Howard Gardner obviously is one of the gurus that we depend on, because it tells us that there's no one single label in terms of our learning styles. Before we did an IQ test and told you, oh, you're 150, you're overachiever. And that was it. But we have different intelligence that most probably not one is only one that you might have. So that means that in 2024, Morelos emphasized that people are not born with all of those, but they acquire and they become more sophisticated as time goes by. So we might have someone who's logical and linguistic and can listen and read and understand everything. But you might have one that's creative and physical, and they need to draw or listen to music in order to understand what they're reading. So their reading is linguistic, but they need the creative physical attributes so they can be able to understand what's going on. And obviously, those who are very quiet, excuse me, might be students that they are scientific, they don't talk much, or computer geeks that they know computers, but they're not able to maybe express what they're doing. It's the teacher's responsibility to provide for all of them. So that brings me to the conclusion, Jaime.
Don't worry. The
Almost
president
done.
and the vice president gave you 5 more minutes.
Oh, okay. So the conclusion for me is the power to heal. As a teacher, I possess tremendous power to make a child's life miserable or joyous. I can be a tool of torture or an instrument of inspiration. I can humiliate or humor, hurt or heal. In the words of Jaime Ginot. So that takes us to the last part, where I say that the outcome of today is a happy learner. Yes, a teacher can heal There's always a possibility for a teacher to heal a student using learner-centered approach. A teacher must be inclusive, celebrate diversity, encourage collaboration, and ensure that the students feel valued. So thank you all for being part of the healing process. I am Dr. Evelyn Lugo from Puerto Rico. Thank you.
Thank you, dear Evelyn. And I'm sure that we all want to see you with us on the next, please, individual presentation, developing strategies and activities to put in practice these wonderful ideas. Thank you so
Oh,
much.
my pleasure, of
Please,
course.
thank you so much.
Thank
And
you
we
very
will have
much
the
for the
questions.
attention.
Okay, and we will have the questions at the end of the second presentation. But I would like Raj Gill to say something because I personally consider that Raj and Mary are two human beings, wonderful human beings who have a lot to say about this wonderful topic. So go on, dear Raj.
Well, I'm so grateful I'm on this call today, Evelyn, because I think and labels are such a dangerous thing. They stick, and the person is so much more than their label. And how we can unintentionally hurt people by labeling them. Thank you for bringing up this consciousness.
You're
Yeah.
welcome, and thank you for all your support.
Thank you, everyone. I'm now talking about being polite and being friendly and being positive and compassionate. We have our princess Kimberly from Puerto Rico. Are you there, princess?
I am here.
Okay, welcome. And the screen is all yours. You got 45 minutes to present and great success.
Okay. Evelyn has to stop.
Yeah, Evelyn. We can hear you, Evelyn.
Okay, I got it. It asked me if I wanted to stop her presentation.
Okay, there you go. Okay, I got it.
Okay.
Okay, dear
Thank
Evelyn.
you.
Thank you.
Okay, I am not very Zoom, but I think I got it. Okay. Do you see it?
Not yet, but it's coming. It's oh, okay, now we got it.
There you have it. I think I froze.
Yeah, but we can see you. Sorry, we can see
Okay, I'm
that.
here.
All right, all right.
Yes, because again, I am with audio on my phone and with the laptop with me here. So I have my timer here that I have also set because these are topics that take a while and there's a lot to say. And also there's a lot that teachers want to say about it, right? And Evelyn and I talked and her presentation gives way to mine. So we said, she said, if I were first, it would be great. And I think the way that she ended the presentation with that quote, it is absolutely perfect with beginning. So calm minds open doors, managing anxiety in English language learners instruction. And that is ELL, which we will refer to it in the rest of the presentation. And of course, I'm from Puerto Rico, and I had to give you an image that would make you want to come here and visit. And probably, I don't know, maybe you have time to buy your plane ticket and be here in November for our convention. That would be absolutely great. I had to say that, as vice president and future president 2026, it is a big part of our lives. Okay. So again, I wanted to say a little bit about ELLs because it depends on where you're coming from. It depends on the country. We have multi-language learners. We have EFL learners. We have ESL learners. But ultimately, it is the same in terms of instruction and what we want for them. We want them to be okay in the classroom. We want them to be able to learn We want them to have actual language acquisition. So ELLs are students from K to 12 with limited proficiency requiring specialized support to succeed academically, right? And they face many challenges. And if we can support them with successful programs like bilingual support, culturally responsive teaching, and differentiated instruction, that would be wonderful, right? And there are some things that Evelyn said that I'm going to repeat, and there are some things that I'm going to add. And we did not sit down together to do our presentations alongside, but we do believe that lower anxiety levels heal. And when you're a teacher, that you are mindful of that, that you are present in the moment of your teaching, you are completely aware that that could happen in the classroom, and it comes with healing. It's a part of healing. So that's why it is very, it's there. It's a part of it. Before I continue, I want to say this topic is very close to my heart. When I was teaching in a public school, 9th grade, to a student that had low proficiency levels, and in public schools, I don't know in your countries, it is here, unfortunately, it happens that they lack the times. We have an expression that it's ay bendito, and we say ay bendito, let's talk to them in Spanish, because they don't really understand and we don't expose them to English sufficiently. So I had a meeting with a parent, and the parent said, Miss Kimberly, I have to tell you, you are giving anxiety to my daughter. And I had to contain my tears, and still it makes me emotional, because I didn't want to do that. I had no idea I was doing that to this child. From there on in, I said, I have to read more into this, because teachers unwillingly, and I'm going to give the benefit of the doubt, we do it without, we don't know that we're doing it many times. So from that moment on, I decided to be more aware of this. I worked with her in my master's degree research, and today she is a famous actress in Mexico. She left, and she's also a journalist, and she talks about, when we have talked, she says, you helped me with my anxiety. So I helped her, but I was a part of it. So we have to be aware of that. And this is how it all began. And it's also a part of it's my dissertation research on anxiety in the classroom. So we know what anxiety is, but I wanted to bring you to that in terms of, it's a feeling of worry and unease about uncertain outcomes affecting many individuals. According to the American Psychology Association, anxiety is characterized by feelings of tension, worried thoughts, and physical changes. It's considered a future-oriented, long-acting response, broadly focused on diffuse threat, physical and emotional manifestations. So listen, I'm talking about anxiety in the classroom, but anxiety is everywhere. And this applies to everyone in terms of, but we are teachers, and we spend most of the time with our students in the classroom than anyone else, than families. So we have to be aware of what is happening in the classroom. I also want to emphasize that I didn't say interrupt me at any moment. I'm that person that I like to interact in the presentation, not leave it all for the end, because then there might be something you want to say and you forget, and it's good to do it in the moment. Okay. Okay, why isn't it moving? Okay, let me do it manually. Okay, So anxiety causes physical symptoms like increased heart rate and sweating, emotional effects such as difficulty concentrating. And the concentrating part is very important to us. In schools, anxiety may disrupt, and I put may, but it absolutely does. But researchers, we can't say a broad statement or something that might be, but it definitely disrupts participation, learning engagement, and assessment performance. English language learners face extra anxiety due to language barriers. And that's another word that I want you to focus on: concentration, barriers, and cultural adjustments. I want you to think about that because we are teachers of students from other countries, not necessarily the ones that we live in, but also we have students in our classroom that lack that cultural understanding, and we should be here to help them, but also we should respect the culture they're coming from, right? So, anxiety in educational context, uh, anxiety can reduce student participation, information absorption, and academic performance in classrooms. I want to repeat it because this is what it's all about. We sometimes say, why is it that this student isn't learning? I've worked with all the ESL strategies. I've worked with everything that I've been taught. I've gone out of the box, 21st century skills. I've done it all. I'm using TPR. Sometimes I even translate what's going on. ELs often face increased anxiety due to unfamiliar linguistic and cultural environments. And notice I'm repeating things on purpose because we have to be very clear. I don't have him here quoted, but Bruff and Brenner has a theory which goes from macro to from micro to macro, where he says the student comes in the classroom with everything that surrounds him. And everything could be in a positive way or negative way, or it could be something that is an obstacle for learning. Supportive classroom climates, clear instructions, and peer encouragement help reduce anxiety. Okay, so we talk about anxiety in general, but the one that pertains to us is that academic anxiety. And I think it was Mary that said that sometimes we think that just that moment in the classroom is enough. But listen, I go to sleep at night trying to see how I'm going to reach a student the next day because I have him in the morning, and there has to be a way that I can reach him. And when we are planning and when we are doing everything we're doing, we are constantly thinking of that student in the classroom. But academic anxiety is what pertains to us right now. It's slow. Do you see it? Why can't we see it?
It's the image is there.
Okay. I don't know why you can't. Okay. It went too far now.
Don't worry.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay.
Here it is.
Yeah,
There you
there
go.
it is.
Okay. So academic anxiety reflects learners' stress and worry about related educational performance and assessments. Now, let me tell you, you're in the classroom, and Evelyn talked about this. A student doesn't do their homework. You have no idea if that student had to be in their parents' business working until 1 a.m. until they closed and just couldn't do it. And I have students that are responsible for their siblings. I have students that I have heard their parents say, why haven't you picked up your sister? It's time already. And they're with me trying to clarify something. So there's a lot of things that can affect our students. Of course, we have irresponsible students. Of course, we have procrastinators. Of course, we have students that just do not want to work, but that's not all of them. So the labeling we have to be careful with because we cannot assume, right? So academic anxiety includes test anxiety, reading anxiety, math anxiety, affecting student performance. And the reason I put math anxiety is because going to Bruff and Brenner and thinking that everything affects them, other classes, the anxiety they have in other classes, they also bring it to yours. And I don't know if it happens to you, Miss Kimberly, but my AP Euro, I had a test and I say this class is as important, but the truth of the matter is, depending on what they're going to study at university, a class is more important than another for them. And that grade is more important. So we have to be mindful. The academic anxiety scale identifies anxiety severity to guide interventions, especially for vulnerable EL students. Any comments, any experiences with this in the classroom? Agreements, disagreements, protests? Yes.
Wait a second. The academic anxiety that you mentioned, basically, I said it at the beginning at the university level, they come in already with those high expectations that they needed in order to accomplish the task or the credits that they need to pass a course. And sometimes it is so, they are so anxious that they actually, feel that they're not able to perform at the level that they expect to. So that performance, again, it goes back to how do you address a student who comes in with that kind of anxiety?
Absolutely. And I have also had students at the college level where they say, yo no voy a presentar. Don't even think about it. I'm not presenting. And then when you ask them why, and I've been in the situation that it's been successful and in the end they have presented, they talk about a teacher that gave them an experience when they were in high school. And the way that teacher treated them, that's when they decided, and they were blocked, and they said, I am not doing that anymore. And my great dear Crashin, I think you see it, but I'm blocked on the laptop.
Yeah, we see it. It's there.
Yeah. Oh my goodness. Of course, I have an image that you can do a meme with. Okay. So Krashen's hypothesis states anxiety raises the affective filter, blocking language input processing. And it's important to talk about this theory because a lot of people can say anxiety, oh, please. When I was in school, we didn't talk about any of that and I turned out okay. Did you really? Did you really? I'm sure many of us have experiences. I have my own experiences, even at the college level. I had a professor that if I came in a minute late, oh, she would humiliate me in front of everybody in terms of being late. Today, I see it as something else, but it happens and we don't want to be a part of it, right? High anxiety prevents learners from absorbing language input effectively, hindering acquisition. Now, I don't know in your Jaime, in Peru and in other countries, but in the United States and in Puerto Rico, we have state tests. And these tests, that's another story about how I feel about them, but they do exist, right? And Evelyn mentioned, and I am teacher training on Saturdays, and all the teachers that are there were because their students were very low in scores in the English part of their test. Now, if we could work with this and evade it from the beginning, maybe that would also help with standardized tests, right? We have to be intentional in many things. And unfortunately, I don't like to teach to the test, and I don't have to where I work. But unfortunately, there are teachers that are told you have to teach to the test because we need those scores for those standardized tests. That also involves anxiety. And I'm going to talk about it later, but it gives anxiety to the student, but also to the teacher. And low anxiety and high motivation motivates. And there has to be a way that we work with in encouraging our students, but we have to be able to identify it, right? And this helps in better language acquisition. So you have to think, who do I want to be? Do I want to be a teacher that, okay, let's have good scores on a test? Or do I want to be a teacher that my students are actually acquiring the language for their future, for their everyday life, and for what they need? So creating low stress, supportive classroom encourages risk taking and language growth. And when I say risk taking, it's a big deal for a student that has anxiety to stand up to give an oral presentation. For them, they're taking a risk because they're afraid of that communication. I don't know if anybody has the same experience of a student not wanting to give an oral presentation, and you have to come up with some alternative because you don't want to give an F to that student. That's even more anxiety. So it's a situation that involves everything. Cynthia, I know that you at the college level, is Cynthia still here, right? At the college level, I'm sure you've had situations with this when students are going to present.
Yes, Kimberly, I do a lot of presentations in my class, and I have that situation where students are at lower levels than some of the other ones. I have mixed level classes because I teach literature rather than the language learning classes. So I get a blend of students, and what I've started doing is making cooperative groups and having them have like a prepared segment. And that helps them because they come up to the front, and I tell them it's informal. You just need to make sure you introduce the group and have a conclusion, but each person needs to talk. And I don't tell them how long they have to talk. And it helps because they're right next to someone who's confident. Then they have their little turn, and there's maybe softer voice. And then sometimes during the course of the project, over the course of the semester, they get excited about some of the things they're talking about. And before they know it, they're actually trying to get a chance to talk some more because they want to explain something better, or they become engaged. That's what I mean. So it is a challenge.
Absolutely. And something that you said is important. You have to be very intentional in what you want from them. And sometimes they perceive, because perception has a lot to do, what you want from them as something bigger than it is. And another thing is the grading part, because they don't want to get a low grade in whatever they are doing. So that gives them anxiety. But if you assign roles, if you give them, like you said, these moments, and you know what? We're going to talk about it, but your peers, you feel more comfortable a lot of times with your own peers. Of course, I always say it has to be guided. With adults in college, it's different, but with high school students, there has to be guidance. But it's absolutely true. And we have so many things to tackle in the classroom. But if we worked with our students' anxiety indirectly, right? Because some of you might know, and we know, we can't just tell a student you have anxiety anymore. We have to be very careful because nowadays it's something that has to be brought up by a psychologist, and there has to be tests, but we know that it's happening. If the student tells you, great, We work from there, but we also have to refer them to the proper channels. But we have to know also how to work with that, and I'll talk about that a little later. Evelyn.
Yes, I was going to say exactly, and I add to what Cynthia is saying about the support they get from collaborative groups. And obviously, another technique, at least that I used for many years, is to give them exactly, the pointers that they need in order to emphasize what their presentation is going to be, and that lowers the anxiety of whatever they present. So again, it's sometimes, having that, which I said already, a small talk with that student to smooth the anxiety a little bit. It also gives them an opportunity to feel that they're able to do it. Even though you don't go directly to saying, if you don't do it, you'll get a low grade. You don't say that because that would increase the anxiety. But definitely
Absolutely.
having a conversation with the student in their group, where in their teamwork will emphasize that those that have a little more abilities can help support. So again, sometimes, and I know that teachers might say, well, he did very little, so he can't get the same grade or the same rate that this other student, but you don't know the effort that that student is doing in the initial stages, and then more eventually you can actually demand a little more from that student.
Cynthia, you were going to.
Yes, I had something to add. I incorporate mindfulness practices in my classroom as a graduate of Breathe for Change program, and one of the techniques that I've incorporated this past year is that at the beginning, a 2-word check-in for them to address, like with 2 words, go around the room, and they can say 2 words that express how they're feeling right then. And it gets them used to talking in the class, and it also gets them to acknowledge and identify those floating feelings that they came to the class with.
Absolutely. It is okay to have moments where it is not about the content or the skills, but you are working on them, because if you can have these conversations, they're producing, if you can direct these conversations in English, it can help them. I've had those instances with Spanish speakers, but in my context where I work, they are completely bilingual students, and some of them, their first language is English, but they still have anxiety. They still have academic anxiety. We're talking about today with the acquisition of English, if your first language is not English, but students on every level, everywhere, they have academic anxiety, and they fear to get a bad grade. And we forget that we have parents that tell them at home, you better get a good grade. And they don't want to fail their parents. And in terms of what Evelyn said, we don't want to tell them they're going to get a 0. I start a conversation and I ask them, what do you want from this? Because you need it. So what is it you expect, right? Because you know that it can affect you. Now, how do you want it? Because we do have to bring them to reality in order to help them. It's the way we do it. That's what helps in terms of their anxiety. And it's extremely important, because one question that Evelyn asked, if we had something to do with it, we have everything to do with it in the classroom. Everything to do with it. And with whatever they come with, we receive it also, right? And we have people that we can refer them to if we see something additional, and if we just cannot help in that sense, or we've reached our limit, because we also have to know when we reach our limit. our limit. Okay, so this is different to everyone. You know your students. You know what to do. Because even if you get new students in August, I, for one month of teaching, I already know them, right? So creating a welcoming classroom, what did you expect? Fosters safety and encourages students to engage without fear or pressure. So one thing I do is I have cycles, and I have one of the cycle days that it's a double period that we call, so it's 90 minutes. I take 10 or 15 minutes. If it's the week, if it's a Monday, to talk about their weekend. If it's something, if it's not the weekend, then to talk about how they're, depending on what was happening. If it's a class that their disciplinary actions, maybe it's hard and challenging to have these moments, then I ask them certain questions that brings them to that awareness of their behavior, right? But you know your students. Visual aids and scaffolding simplify complex content and help English language learners better understand material. Why are we giving English language learners, and that goes for EFL, that goes for everything multi-language learners, a 3-page story with 10 questions in the end and give it to me at the end of the class? Why are we doing that? And there are people that do, right? Why aren't we working with the strategies that they need to lower the anxiety? And then we say, this has to be done at the end, otherwise you have a 0. And listen, and maybe the people that are here, you don't do that, but this happens. And this is something that gives our students more anxiety. And the point is, and maybe somebody might think, that's not my problem, but it is. You know why? Because if your students have lower anxiety, that also helps you in the classroom. And that makes for a better environment for you. And for a more, in your class will flow more. And I have lived that experience, right? Culturally, peer collaboration and feedback. Now, I have a whole nother presentation on feedback. That's a whole nother story. Peer collaboration has to be guided. It can't be, Jaime, sit down with Evelyn and tell her about her. No, because Jaime might tell Evelyn, hey, you did something that was no good. Teacher, this is no good what Evelyn did. That's not the way. We have to help them in that peer collaboration and tell them what's acceptable and what they're looking out for, and have a conversation with each other about it. Self-assessment, I don't have it here, but it's also good for them to have that conversation. What do you think about what you did, right? And feedback. The kids love to hear from us because, listen, we might not think so, but they admire us, and they look up to us. And a lot of times, whatever we say, they take to heart. Cultural responsive teaching. Now, I'm going to say it more ahead, but this is extremely important for them to feel welcomed in the classroom. Okay? So, talking about that additional support. Bilingual support involves providing instruction or resources in both the student's native language and English. This can include bilingual aids, translated materials, or dual language programs. Now, we're not going to teach the class in Spanish, but we have to be or Spanish or whatever language it may be, because this pertains to everyone if you know the language. But we do have to be mindful that their first language intervenes with their second, and it could be negative or positive. And we have to be thinking about that all the time. My first language is English. And I sometimes say things and, are you sure that's what you wanted to say? Because I'm thinking about it in English and I say it in Spanish and I say it wrong and the connotation is not the same. That happens to students too. It helps ELLs access content while developing English proficiency. Now, listen, this is going to depend on where you work and where you're from. Right now in Puerto Rico, the Department of Education, they're trying to work with bilingual schools, but then on the other hand, the higher ups of the English department say, don't talk about bilingualism. So it will depend. Don't speak Spanish in the classroom. That's another story. But it will depend on where you're coming from. But ultimately, you are the teacher and you are the one that can support your students. And that becomes your little culture right there. And really quickly, I have 13 minutes. Okay. So really quickly, Jim Cummings talked about this, and it's very important that we know where it comes from, right? And you know what? This lowers anxiety levels. And that's what I wanted to emphasize in this, right? Okay, so additional support. In my case, it's Puerto Rico, but we have to be more culturally responsible, right? Culturally responsive teaching acknowledges and incorporates students' cultural backgrounds into the learning process. In my case, I have students from China, I have students from India, I have students that are Muslims, I have students that are Jewish. All of that has to do with it. And I have to be very responsible with my students in this case. And it is important for them to learn, they're living in Puerto Rico, about our culture, but it's also for the students that live here to understand that your culture is important, right? And this could be in different ways. Teachers use diverse text, examples, classroom practices. They feel that they belong. And that is another aspect of anxiety. If I feel I belong, maybe I can work with the other situations that are leading me to have this anxiety for learning the language that I'm afraid to speak. But maybe if my oral presentation is about the great mofongo that my grandmother makes, you know what? I can talk about that in English. I'll do it. So it's important. Research has shown that implementing cultural responsive teaching improves learning outcomes and emotional well-being, okay? This is something that is close to my heart and I deeply understand, but there are other people that have said it and there's research about it. Evelyn.
I love when you say there's a lot of research and someone else said it before.
Oh, yes.
Okay, I just wanted to emphasize what you're just saying something very important that all of us in the international scenario, the culturally responsive teaching is necessary, especially for those who are in a new environment. And obviously, you've mentioned those that are in Puerto Rico, and we have to really learn to accept and learn to disseminate the cultures of other cultures into our educational scenario. Sometimes we tend to be a little, I'm going to say the word, and I know you know that I would say it anyway. Selfish when we pretend, and I've heard this in Puerto Rico many times, and I do not agree, that our materials, resources, and texts are not culturally responsive enough for our students. But we should be emphasizing more on a global aspect of cultural responsive, especially at the university level, especially in high school level. Expose them to our cultural background and our history and literature, but also expose them to literature from other places, which sometimes we don't get only from certain areas where we support the curriculum from, and I'll say it again, the US as a copy from what we do in Puerto Rico. So again, for me, it's very important what you're saying about culturally responsive teaching. If your curriculum doesn't provide that and you want to be in acceptance and in respect of other culture, teachers should make an effort to give that different view of other cultures in your teaching practice. So to be fair, and most probably someone is not going to feel who is from another culture left behind, left unseen, or less valued. So I just want to say that. Thank you.
Yes, absolutely. Also, we have differentiated instruction that we've heard so much about, and I just wanted to say, and I'm not going to say a lot about this because I have 8 minutes, but it's there, it's real, and this is the best image that I can show. There's also an image that it's about an elephant trying to climb a tree, but this one, we have to be intentional also in what we have in our classroom, and that is something that I've been saying from the beginning. Knowing our students is what's going to help us in terms of helping them lower that anxiety. Okay? Now, okay. It's stuck again. It'll go, but it's stuck again. There it is. Okay.
Yeah, there it is.
Oh my goodness. That was a spoiler alert. Okay. So managing anxiety, this is just a review. Why? For everything I have said. For everything, right? Why is it important? We've talked about this, you see there, but the one that I love the most is reducing anxiety fosters a positive classroom climate where all students can thrive holistically. And you know, it helps you and me as a teacher also. If we work on this, okay? Now, behaviors that may cause anxiety. Overemphasis on an error. And I'm not going to read this. You see there. Teacher emotional support positively impacts students' emotions. My teacher, my dog died last night. Oh, I don't have dogs, so I don't know what that feels like. No, my dog died last night. I had a student that was stressed, that was depressed for a month because his dog died. And that is something we have to be aware of. What is obvious to you or what you feel, we can't be dismissive. And I already talked about cultural responsiveness, teacher anxiety influence, and that's something that I talked about since the beginning. We do it also. Now, as a teacher, do you get anxiety? Do teachers need extra support to help these students? Tell me.
Of course.
Right?
Absolutely.
And sometimes I'm going to say it, administrators that were in the classroom once, I'm going to say it, they forget, and we forget, that we are human. And I remember, if you remember this movie from Jim Carrey, which is the Yes Man, and this is the biggest yes that I can find, okay? And Cynthia was talking about this too. We need to help our students, but we also need to help ourselves. And this is something that I've been working on in my dissertation, and Evelyn and other people have told me, you're not going to change the world, just write your dissertation. But at some point, I want to work on this because teachers need training. It can't be, there's an experience of someone that I know that their administrator said, but are you bonding with your students? Oh, it doesn't matter that teacher had a lot of stressful situations. So how can you do this? You need workshops with mental awareness. You need we need professional development, trauma informed teaching. We need courses in social emotional learning. We need collaboration with school psychologists or counselors. Mental health for you. Actual wellness days for you. And I want to emphasize on me writing actual wellness because we have wellness, wellness, wellness. And a lot of times the wellness is emphasized on students. But we need, and a wellness day is just a day off at home. And like I said at the beginning, and watching your favorite hero shows, whatever it may be, right? Going out. Evelyn likes to drive around Puerto Rico and find certain things. Yvette likes that. Cynthia likes that. She takes a lot of pictures, right? And everybody else here. But listen, at the end of the day, this is about teachers helping students, but if we don't help ourselves, it's not going to happen. At the end of the day, you want to do like Ron Clark, that he collapsed in front of his students because he just went to work really tired, right?
Poor
But
Ron Clark.
right? But then in the hospital, he was also talking to his students. Recently, I saw, and I do not agree with somebody that commented, we are teachers 24/7. Yes, we are. But if you're in the hospital about to die, because someone did die, and they were in school and they had their laptop, it came up recently, and I shared it in my social media. They were trying to poster grades. Listen, at the end of the day, someone else will be hired in your place. So for you to help your students, you need to help yourself. And we are totally committed because I'm preaching to the choir here. And also, I am one that unless I'm dying, I'm absent. Or it has to be lately. I've been thinking about it and reflecting on it. And I'm very honest with my supervisor because my grandson needs me and my family, and I need to continue. Okay. So I hope that this has been a reflection for you to think about how you can add to a better environment in your classroom. And I want you to understand that this is not about the students, it's also about you. And also, I want to say there are limits, and we have to understand those limits. We want to reach every student, and we want them to understand, but sometimes there's a student that there's another teacher helping them, and they will be okay, and it's not us, and we have to accept it. So thank you very much for this invitation. This is a topic very close to my heart, and thank you, and it's been great being with you.
Thank you, dear princess. And just like Evelyn, we would like to see you with us on a future presentation on this wonderful topic. Both topics have to do with mental health for both teachers, students, and also directors and also coordinators who should have been here listening to you and Evelyn. Please, if you stop sharing your screen so we can see ourselves.
And I finished with 23 seconds to spare, and the
Please,
alarm.
please
No,
go on.
no, I'm done. I'm done.
Thank you. Thank you so much, dear princess. Let me see everyone. Okay, so thank you so much, dear princess, and Evelyn, for such insightful presentations. We have been all thinking, reflecting about mental health, as I mentioned before, not only for students, but also for teachers. So I invite everyone who's here to say something to our wonderful, hello, Mary Scholl. So you, come on, is this in artificial intelligence again?
We both are together.
I
And
know, I know.
Yvonne,
Good for you two, good for you three, Ivan and Raj and Mary. I'll go to Canada in
Oh, come downstairs, Rania.
to broadcast our next conference right from Canada.
right.
So
Next
you
time
can,
we
I would
yeah,
like to, I would like to know where they are located.
Oh,
I know you're in Peru, but where is Rai and Mary
well,
and Ivan
Yvonne and I live in Costa Rica,
and
but we're
Costa
in,
Rica?
yeah, but we're visiting Raj in Canada.
Oh, interesting. We have
yeah,
wonderful friends in Canada and in Costa Rica.
Mhm.
Nice to
great.
know.
What
Well,
part of Costa Rica?
Hmm?
What
what
part
part of
of
Costa Rica?
We live near La Fortuna.
I was
Oh, no.
there. I was
Oh,
there, yeah.
I wish you could have visited us.
I went to a volcano.
Oh,
Yeah.
very nice.
Uh-huh.
Okay, next time, Mary's
Ah,
house is our house, and Raj's
yeah.
house is our house, and Ivan's house is our house. So we have houses everywhere in the world. That's
You
the
have a house in Puerto Rico too, so
Thank
I
you
you're
can't
so
more
wait.
much.
welcome
Thank
to
you.
visit
love
our
that.
island.
So this is time. So we have 5 minutes to express our gratitude, to express our comments on such
Thank you
beautiful
for coming.
and very
We got a
insightful. You're
picture.
so
Yeah,
lucky,
that's
dear
right.
Raj. I envy you, dear Raj.
Well, I've written down so many things. Princess and Evelyn have their topics were so complementary. And I think the few things that I'd like to say is that inclusion and belonging are essential for learning. If my brain is in hypervigilant, am I safe here? Do I belong here? Learning cannot take place. So you both have mentioned that. And even as a teacher, if I feel anxious, I'm not able to teach. If as a student, I feel anxious, I'm not able to learn.
Right.
So can we mindfully be present to include everyone and not just focus on the content? So a brilliant presentation and lots to take and embrace and live these practices. Thank you.
And a beautiful
Thank you.
summary of these two presentations, dear Raj. So if Cynthia, Ivan, Yvette, and Mary Shaw want to say something, you may open up your microphone and speak up your mind.
Well, thank you for the opportunity to offer my gratitude to these colleagues that I share a lot of personal and work opportunities with. They are both so informative and knowledgeable and supportive, and I've seen them in roles where they are mentors to other people. It's not about age either. It's about just like what we talked about today. How can we even as an experienced teacher be more accessible and warm and observant of our students? And how can we get the best outcome given our circumstances? And they might be like losing power, or they might be a hurricane happened, and they might be that there's a food shortage or something's going on. But how can we be there for the students and meet them equally, and also take care of ourselves? If our family's in trouble, it's hard to offer extra. So thank you again. Thank you for the presentation. I really appreciate it.
Thank you, dear Cynthia. Go, Frances Boulon.
Yes, I want to express my congratulations to Princess and Evelyn for such excellent presentations. And I particularly appreciate the importance of focusing on anxiety in learning and the role of the teacher in that. It is very important to recognize that a student might be very capable, but will not be able to perform if anxiety gets in the way. And also, I appreciated Kimberly's mention of having a support group in the school with the different professionals, and definitely that is something I support in teaching school psychologists. We have to be a team with the counselors, the social workers, and we need to be very aware of teachers when they are struggling for whatever reason. We need to be there to assist them. and make the atmosphere the best for teaching and learning. So
Absolutely.
congratulations and thank you for inviting me.
Thank you, dear Frances. Anybody else, please, who wants to express his or her gratitude? Yeah, go on, dear Yvette.
My congratulations to Princess and Evelyn. As my professional experience, I worked as an administrator, as an associate director in a register office. And my gratitude that with her presentation, I can say that I worked a lot with the at a university level with the anxiety of professors dealing with what to do with their groups. So we had a support team, emotional group to work with the faculty. So thank you, Princess, for reviewing what's happening, what to do, and why is that possible. So it's been a wonderful morning in Puerto Rico with these presentations that we as professional education professional, we should not forget to humanize what we do with the persons that we work with. Thank you both.
Thank you, dear Yvette. Ivan and Mary. Ivanhoe.
Thank you.
Ivanhoe.
Thank you for the invitation to share a great topic selected, Evelyn and Princess. It is beautiful the way you were describing, talking about your experience in different contexts at a university level and in the classroom with teachers and students. And my biggest takeaway is that students are human beings first, and they are under a lot of pressure from parents, from the programs, from society, from everywhere. And it's so beautiful to see them first as human beings. And then they are students, and then they are children, and then they are whatever they are, whatever label or identity we have for them. But they're human beings first, and that's what we need to do, teachers. I love what you're saying, that you are not only teaching, and not only teaching during your teaching time, but you're outside the classroom. You're also doing things and thinking about your students and planning activity for your students outside the classroom, and thinking about how you can serve them, how you can be with them, accompany them in whatever process they're going through.
Absolutely.
Thank you for the opportunity to share what you've been going through to us as teacher to trainer.
Thank you, dear lucky Ivan, because now you are you are in Canada, right next to Raj and also to Mary. Thank you, dear Ivan. I envy you too. Someday I'll be at Raj's house. Someday.
I'm waiting. I'm waiting.
Yeah.
Go on, dear Mary Scholl.
Yeah, thank you both so much, Evelyn and Princess. It was beautiful to hear from you. And for me, it was really invigorating to hear about Puerto Rico, porque ya no, I mean, ya se cambia al español. Because I don't know much about Puerto Rico, so it was just beautiful to learn. And I really, really appreciate how you're viewing teachers both as healers, and then also as what our responsibilities are, like the different ways that we can help reduce anxiety and in ourselves and in others. And I think that anxiety is such a key life experience now. Really, I think we all need to know about it. And so yeah, I just really appreciate it. And I hope that lots of people watch the recording.
Yeah, and they will when we upload the video, and it will be here for eternity.
Yeah, so it was beautiful, and I hope that you come back to Costa Rica and that you contact us so we can have a cafecito.
Ooh,
and I hope that everybody gets to come to Raj's house, because Yvonne's background is real. It's gorgeous here. There's a sense of peace here.
It is like that, though.
Wow, beautiful.
Yeah, thank you, Mary. And before my final words, Evelyn's and Princess' final words today, let me remind everyone about our next events. Very quick, here they are. So next Sunday in Spanish, it will be Juntos construyendo una sociedad más inclusiva, celebrando el amor a nuestros niños. We will be talking about autism, and then on October the 5th, in a few weeks, just 4 weeks, we will have Marcela Burgos from Argentina talking about culture in the language classroom, the whys and hows. Well, I just remember everything that I live and experienced and learned in Costa Rica with Mary and Raj. We human beings have to deal with depression, things that happened to us in the past, and we still have them in our minds. Stress from the present tense, so many things we have to do, and now anxiety because we worry about the things we have to do. So thank you once again, dear Evelyn and Princess. I guess many people, professors, coordinators, directors, everyone should sit and forget everything and in a circle start talking about how we feel, what we need, how we can help each other, and then we will have a much better school, institute, university, and place to work in. So thank you, dear Evelyn and Princess. Time for you to say goodbye, Evelyn, and then Princess.
Thank you very much. And it has been a pleasure to be here today and share and have this wonderful conversation with colleagues from all over South America and Central America and us in Caribbean. So thank you very much for the invitation.
Yes, and you will be invited to
Thank
be
you.
with us once again, dear Evelyn. Princess?
No, thank you so much. I enjoy sharing with new colleagues and meetings. So yeah, and new places to visit. So thank you so much for this opportunity.
Of course, whenever you come down to Peru, please just call me and we'll
I've never been, so
please, mi casa es tu casa, Princess. It's little, small, tiny, but somewhere you will be able to sleep. So thank you, Mary, Ivan, Frances, Yvette, Cynthia, Evelyn, Princess, Raj, and all the people who were listening
Have a
to
pleasant
us.
time
Have a
and
pleasant
enjoy
time
the
and
rest of
see
the
you soon.
weekend.
Enjoy Canada, Mary and Ivan. Enjoy Raj.
You can see the background.
Oh, that's
Jaime.
Oh my
beautiful.
goodness.
oh my
You
goodness.
do that on purpose, don't you,
Beautiful.
Ivan?
It's like a screensaver. It's so beautiful.
You want us to feel bad.
No, you
Very
want to make
nice.
sure you come.
Ah,
Right.
okay.
It is an invitation for you, Jaime, for you to join.
Okay, I'm
That's
saving
beautiful.
every
It's
single
beautiful.
soul. So
Okay.
bye-bye.
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 See you. I'll see you when I see you. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Take care. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Goodbye.